Hey, Element, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that spring has arrived, summer is coming, the sun is out more. Man, cannot wait for everything that's waiting for us coming this summer. But before we get there, we have a few more nights of Element. I want to talk to you about some really important stuff. And tonight is something that is pretty near and dear to my heart. Something that's changed in me over the course of the last probably 5 years is I've become I am so over the disposable society that we live in. I mean, we really live in the type of society that's kind of like buy something, use it till it's done, throw it away. I mean, this is infiltrated almost every aspect of my life, from my coffee grinders to my hobbies to the clothes that I wear to like everything. I don't want to just use stuff and throw it away. I want stuff that will last, and if it breaks or gets worn out, I can fix it. There's something about that just really speaks to my heart. It could be that as I'm getting older, that I want to think that I'm not all used up and there's still more use for me in this world. All of this started with working on dumb camping lanterns. These are these old things that the insides of them haven't changed for like 60 years, and that you can still go to Walmart and buy parts for a lantern that was made 60, 70, 80 years ago. Just crazy for me to think about. So if I fast forward from that moment with lanterns to where I'm at today, I've taken it to a little bit of a ridiculous level, because if you look at this motorcycle, I spent 14 months working to fix it into this motorcycle. Now, you being a student that may or may not be driving, I think about our expectations for our vehicles. We kind of get in them, put a key in, you turn the key. We know how to start a vehicle. We know how to drive a vehicle. What do you do when that vehicle breaks down? That's a different story. A lot of times we'll just look at it and go, well, it's broken. And we'll either pass it off to someone else, or we'll say that we need a new one, or, all of those things are in play. And I think about that, and that's kind of the way we treat relationships. We know how to start a relationship. We know how to drive a relationship. But once a relationship starts to hit the rocks, a lot of times we tend to pass it off or walk away or make relationships a little bit disposable. The idea of working on a relationship, getting our hands and our fingers dirty in the midst of what it means to, I'm going to use a church word, reconcile a relationship, is something that isn't very normal or even comes easy to us. And I pulled all this from a guy that's way smarter than me named Andy Stanley. And he was talking about how difficult it is even for like ministers, leaders in a church, like mending relationships doesn't come naturally. And here's the deal though. It is at the core of what Jesus has wanted to do in our lives. Like Easter is coming this week. Last week, we celebrated Baptism Sunday. Man, we had like 4 or 5 high school students, several middle school students surrender their lives to Jesus and want to step into that relationship. And what Jesus has done for us is he modeled the idea of reconciling, repairing relationships. And there's 2 parts to it, because we talk a lot about forgiveness. We talk about how, hey, look, God forgives you. There is forgiveness at the cross, which is all true. And we hang on to that because my heart needs to know that Jesus is going to forgive me for my past, my present, and my future. I have to know that, but there's still work to be done. And Jesus was willing to step into the reconciliation part, the mending, the work that has to be done. I think about this work that I did on this stupid motorcycle that was in my life for 14 months. There were moments that I looked at it and I was like, man, all hope is lost. That thing is never going to run. There were moments that I would get kind of excited that I was like, well, maybe there's a little hope here. And I remember the moment when I realized that that motor would run again, and then that motorcycle would exist for its purpose, to accelerate, to shift through gears, to bring joy to the rider. I was thinking in my mind how much joy that brought me, and I was thinking about the way that Jesus looks at you, the way that Jesus looks at me. And he sees this potential. He sees what we were created for. And he gets excited about those things. And he wants to go, I can see this potential, what you've been created for. And the moment that you're able to step and walk into that, I can only imagine the joy that it brings his heart when we walk into that. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 says it this way: to you, to me, to us, the church. It says, so from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. All of this is from God. Being made new, it only comes from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ, and hear this, and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. It's like he gave us the responsibility. He gave us this job. That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting men's sins against them. But that wasn't just enough. He said, I'm going to forgive the sins, not counting their sins against them. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors. We are his messengers, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. I think about that step that goes further. Step 1 is Jesus looking at you and going, I forgive you. Step 2 is going, he wants to reconcile that relationship, and there's work that has to be done. And he was willing, we're going to celebrate this weekend and Resurrection Weekend, he was willing to get his hands dirty, to be bloodied on a cross, to do the work of reconciling the relationship between us. And I think about how we look at our relationships around us as well. Have I taken the ministry of reconciliation into our friendships? Have you taken the ministry of reconciliation into your families? Have you taken the ministry of reconciliation into your clubs, your activities, all of those other areas? Because it's one thing to say, yeah, I forgive them, and I can move past what has happened. It'd be like if I looked at that motorcycle again in that garage and I go, yeah, like I can see what it is. Man, that's just kind of sad, but it's a broken motorcycle. But it's another thing to say, I'm willing to get the dirt under my nails. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be humble and to ask for help and to invite people in and to work on this, because God has commissioned to me a ministry of reconciliation. Students, God has commissioned you as his ambassadors, his messengers, this ministry of reconciliation. It is your responsibility to be reconciled to God and to reconcile your relationships with one another.